Yarn. So today is May 27, 2023. To everyone here in our 60 members, congratulations. You are the very first 60 people who gets to experience this joint call. Yes. So yes, let's start with the quiz. Now, I will only click the next slide if you say yes po. Okay? Para interactive ito. Okay?
Yes po.
Yay. Okay.
Yes po.
Okay. Nice, nice.
Yes po.
Okay, so thank you. So there are 19 questions. Okay, so 19 questions de derecho, and then we'll have answers and explanations afterwards. So, first question: in which century did psychological testing and assessment happen? Letter A, 18th century. Letter B, 19th century. And letter C, 20th century. Okay. I'll, I'll only click next slide if you say yes po, okay? Para fair tayong lahat. Char, pinag-isipan. So, wala pang yes po.
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay, next slide. So, question 2. Which country created the imperial examination, a test that qualifies you for a government post? Is it A, France, B, Germany, or C, China?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Third question: which scientist is the founder of evolutionary psychology? Is it A, Francis Galton, B, Charles Darwin, or C, Carl Pearson?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay, cool. So, question 4: which psychologist centered his study on concerns itself with psychological differences between people rather than on common traits? Is it A, Carl Pearson, B, Wilhelm Wundt, or C, Francis Galton?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Question 5. Which psychologist invented the first psychology laboratory in Leipzig, Germany? Is it A, Wilhelm Wundt, B, James McKeen Cattell, or C, Charles Spearman?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Question 6. Which psychologist coined the term mental test? Is it A, James McKeen Cattell, B, Charles Spearman, or C, Victor Henry?
Yes po.
Yes
Yes
po.
po. Okay, cool. Question 7. Which psychologist pioneered factor analysis and rank correlation coefficient? Is it A, Charles Spearman, B, Victor Henry, or C, Emil Kraepelin?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay, cool. Question 8. Who was Alfred Binet's research assistant? Is it A. Emil Kraepelin, B. Victor Henry, or C. Charles Spearman?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. So, question 9. Which psychologist became an early experimenter of the word association test? Is it A. Leitner Whitmer, B. Emil Kraepelin, or C. Victor Henry?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Question 10. Which psychologist was cited as the little known founder of clinical psychology? Is it A. Leitner Whitmer, B. Emil Kraepelin, or C. Victor Henry?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay, very confident. Question 11. Which psychologist designed the first intelligence test pasensya, to identify students? Is it A. Louis Terman, B. Alfred Binet, or C. James McKean Cattell?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Sobrang bilis. So, easy question. So, question 12. During World War One and World War Two period, which psychological test was used for applicants who can read and write to screen recruits?
Yes po.
Yes po. Yes. Too easy. Yung voice. Ay, teka. Ay, na balik ko yung 12. Pasensya. So, question 13. During World War One and World War Two period, which psychological test was used for applicants who cannot read and write to screen recruits? Is it A, Army Alpha, or B, Army Beta?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. So, so there are 20 questions. Pasensya sa numbers. Yung voice ko. So, question 14. Which adult intelligence test did David Wechsler produce? Is it A, Wechsler Belouf Intelligence Scale, or B, Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, or C, both?
Yes po.
Yes po. Yay, too easy. Question 15. So, what is the other name for Robert S. Woodworth's psychoneurotic inventory? Is it A, yes or no answer sheet, B, self-report personality test, or C, personal data sheet?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Next is wait, yung numbers question 15. So, question 17, which assessment approach is about the assessor and assessee, yung nag-make ng test and test taker may work as partners from initial contact through final feedback? Is it A, collaborative psychological assessment, B, therapeutic psychological assessment, or C, dynamic assessment?
Yes
Yes.
po.
Po.
Yes po. Okay. Question 18. Which assessment approach is about the therapeutic self discovery and encourage new understandings made through the assessment process? So, is it A, collaborative psychological assessment, B, therapeutic psychological assessment, or C, dynamic assessment?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Question 19. So, which assessment approach follows a model of evaluation, intervention of some sort, and another evaluation? So, is it A, collaborative psychological assessment, B, therapeutic psychological assessment, or C, dynamic assessment?
Yes po.
Yes po. Okay. Yay! So, we're now on to answers. So, pasensya sa numbers. Tomorrow, I'll recheck. So, hold your papers and let's figure out why bakit yun yung answer. So for question 1, in which century did psychological testing and assessment happen? So it happened during the 19th century. So in this period, madaming nagawa na pag-intindi ng mga major mental disorders and yung pagkataong paggawa ng experiment with animals and human behavior. So, madaming exploration ito in the field of psychology in the 19th century. So, madami bang check? Eh? First question pa. So, second question is, which country created the imperial examination or a test that qualifies you for a government post? So, it is China. So, ito yung first civil service examination. So when passers were announced, it was called releasing the roll. So yan rin important din yan na term kasi minsan lalabas din yan sa yung mga pang board exam na mga questionnaires, no? So yung announcing sa passers, releasing the roll yung tawag nun. And yung purpose nito is for selecting candidates for the state bureaucracy. Okay. On question 3 is, which scientist is the founder of evolutionary psychology? So, syempre, si Charles Darwin. Diba? He gave us yung study of evolution. So, perfect example nito, paano yung evolution naka-affect ng psychology? So, perfect example niyan ay yung pre-COVID at post-COVID era. So, makita mo yung evolution na yung pagkawala ng tao or yung need sa technology more than ever or yung demand sa mga medical work. So, nag or at saka yung mga survival needs sa mga tao. So, a lot has changed psychologically over then. Okay. So, question 4. So, which psychologist centered the study on concerns itself with psychological differences between people rather than on common traits? So, yan po si Francis Galton. So, yung keyword nito ay yung ginawa niya yung differential psychology. So, yun. Yan yung coin na term para sa study niya. Okay, next is, which psychologist invented the first psychology laboratory in Leipzig, Germany? So, it was Wilhelm Wundt. Mostly yung laboratory, nag-study lang ng mga sensations and feelings, no? By employing experimental methods. So, very simple lang. So, for question 6, so which psychologist coined the term mental test? Yes, it was the man himself, si James McKeen Cattell. He believed that yung mental test nakatulong sa pag-measure ng intelligence ng tao. So, yan si James McKeen Cattell. So, for question 7, which psychologist pioneered factor analysis and rank correlation coefficient? So it was Charles Spearman. So factor analysis, very apparent na Charles I sorry for my dog. Ay wait. Yung factor analysis, very important. It is used to reduce a large number of variables into fewer number of factors. Bale, yung unobserved variables, tinatanggal mo. So, perfect example din nito is, for example, there's a group of students na nag-fail sa isa ka exam. And that yung actual factor nito na tinitake mo, yung, di ba yung scores ng mga students? Sino yung mababa at sino yung mataas. Pero yan, yung unobserved na factor, this is where magamit mo yung factor analysis, is that half of the students, for example, were athletes. Ganon. So, yung athletes, may event sila recently, so that's why they didn't have time to study, kaya na-fail yung mga scores. So, those types of unobserved na mga variables. Okay. For question 8, is that who was Alfred Binet's research assistant? So, it was Victor Henry. And may contribution siya ng konti. So, he suggested na how mental tests could be used to measure higher mental processes. Okay. Next is, which psychologist became an early experimenter of the word association test? So it was Emil Kraepelin. He created word association tests, yung test na in which the participant responds to a stimulus word with the first word that comes to mind. So, per se, if you ask them about, okay, what do you think about apple? Tapos, pwede ma-respond ng SSC na, when I think of apple, I think of sadness. Parang ganun. Okay. Next is, which psychologist was cited as the little-known founder of clinical psychology? So, it was Leitner Whitmer. Yes, he brought light. Kumbaga, he really is the father of clinical psychology and introduced the term clinical psychology. So, very important name to remember. He is also often credited with the founding field it describes. So, anything clinical psychology related, makikita mo talaga name ni Leitner Whitmer. Okay. So, next is, which psychologist designed the first intelligence test to identify students? It was Alfred Binet. He helped place children in Paris na masegregate sila sa kanilang mga class sections. So, Alfred Binet is responsible for that. And next is, yes, Army Alpha and Army Beta. So, during World War I, so they needed psychological tests para ma-screen yung recruits para sa military. So, the military needed a way to screen large numbers of recruits quickly for intellectual and emotional problems if kaya ba nila sumabak sa gera. So that was the purpose of Army Alpha and Army Beta. Okay. And for question 13, which adult intelligence test did David Wechsler produce? So the correct answer is both. Wechsler-Belouf Intelligence Scale is actually the old name of Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale. So yung new name ay ito po, Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale or yung tinatawag na WAIS. No, it has verbal comprehension, working memory, perceptual organization, and processing speed ng mga questions. Okay. Next is, what is the other name for Robert S. Woodworth's psychoneurotic inventory? So the correct answer is personal data sheet. Yes, the very first PDS sa world. So this was produced in World War I for the United States Army. So if you think about it, world yung World War, it was bad. It killed many people, pero it did contribute a lot sa psychology. So for question 15, yung psychological assessment and psychological testing. So the differences between psychological assessment and psychological testing is that yung psychological assessment is the review of the results, no? About just the results. And psychological testing is about the physical investigation of a person's mind. So measuring lang talaga yung anong nasa utak ng tao. So and then we have the three types of assessment approaches. We have collaborative, therapeutic, and dynamic. So for yung differences nila ay madali lang. Collaborative is about yung mag-collaborate, yung assessor and assessee. An example of this is undergoing a shared life event together or mag-share sila ng experience together. So, yan. Next is yung therapeutic psychological assessment. Yan yung kinikilala nating mga therapy sessions, the caring part, no? Step programs, ganun po siya. And lastly is yung dynamic assessment. So dynamic assessment is very interactive, no? From the word itself, dynamic. So group dynamics. Pwede mong makita ito during team building.